Good evening. You're on Street Talk, and hopefully another Thursday night with Father and controversy. And I have a great guest back tonight. I have Tambria Moore with me to brighten up our studio. And what should we say? A flower between two thorns. And my very good friend and longtime associate, Bobby Dellelo. And Bobby's been on the show before. And the great thing is, the book is out, When the Prisoners Ran Walpole. This is a book that anybody interested in not only the justice system, but social development in any way, or if you're interested in racial relationships and how they're put together, this is the book to read. In 1972, 73, when we were doing the prison movement in Massachusetts, Walpole was the most violent prison in the country. One of the newest, if not the newest, had about 560 men in that prison, and Bobby's here tonight. We're going to talk about that. And of course, this book's, we talk about the abolition of prison. So anybody wants to hear what we're talking about, please come in and listen. We're talking about the abolition of prison. And I have a little statement before I go to Bobby and ask him about some things. Somebody wrote this little piece, and it says, at first blush, the idea of prisons being fully abolished seems highly radical. And given this show with Radical Jesus and all the radical stuff we do, it's the appropriate place to have this book shown. If not insane, violent criminals will be allowed to live among the law-abiding and continue victimizing the innocent. Punishment will no longer available to deter bad behavior. There will longer be a mechanism for segregating society's worst from the honest citizens. Hysterical concerns quickly rise to the fore at the suggestion that prisons are actually doing far more harm than good. And a deeper look into what we're talking about shows that what you get for somebody going to prison is a failure to rehabilitate. Bobby, I'm going to go right to you and talk about the book and where we are today with the prison system.
Well, one of the highlight features of the book is the fact that at the time, Walpole Prison was one of the most violent prisons in the entire United States. In a 20-month period, 18 people were killed, or it was an 18-month period and 20 people were killed. I'm confused on what the numbers were.
I remember.
It was an extremely violent prison. Mm-hmm. And we got a commissioner of corrections, John Boone, who was a black individual, and in racist Massachusetts, the guards union went after this guy. They were on strike. And what they were looking for was the prison to explode, for there to be a bloodbath, and then they would blame John Boone for the bloodbath. What they weren't expecting is that we prisoners ran the prison for 12 weeks. Nobody got killed. Nobody got stabbed or injured. Nobody got their property stolen. We had the keys to all the doors. Nobody escaped from the prison. We were in a peaceful prison for 3 months. And we demonstrated clearly that we didn't need the guards in the prison system, that prisons could function without them. What's very good about this book is it also gives you what the political layout was at that time, which is the same today. And the bottom line is, you cannot reform prisons. They are unreformable. They're wrong in concept, they're wrong in application, they're wrong to their core.
We also need to say that when this happened and the guards walked out, we had, and of course I was outside while you were inside, but we had, and I was allowed to go inside at that time with the commissioner and all that. He was a wonderful guy. But we had citizens from outside in there.
Observer program.
Observer program, right?
That's all in the book.
That's all in the book, right? Yeah. I mean, so, here was the most violent in the place in the country. The guards walk out. You're inside. I'm going to people doing organizing inside. And John Straight, citizen, was able to come in and watch what happened.
But see, that's what the beauty of this book is. This is a historical document that's based on true fact. the observers that came in, we had about, I think it was 1,700 came in.
That's right.
And each one had to write a report as to what they observed in the prison. They were between us and the guards. So what you're getting is historical fact. This is what was going on. This is what outside citizens observed happening, all right? And the politics of the time, how do you know these guys went on the strike? You know, at that time the guys were talking, they were professionals and they were out to protect society. Well, you don't protect society by stepping out of the maximum security prison and allowing it to explode, or guys to massively escape, you know. And what's interesting is a lot of the stuff that we were talking about back then, over 30 years ago, you hear it today. Re-entry, rehab, retraining prisoners. Now they're doing a swing around because...
It's a new look. They think it's a new look, but it's a swing of the pendulum, and talking about the very
Okay, but see, that's the term we got to be careful of.
Okay.
We got a new commissioner, and now the attitude of Massachusetts is that we went from a hardcore governor, right-wing law and order, hard-on crime concepts, and now we have a new commissioner say, the pendulum is swung the other way. And you've got to really think about what you're saying. When you're saying the pendulum swung the other way, that means it's going to, at some point in time, go back the other way.
Right.
All right? So prison reform is actually just a roller coaster ride.
Right.
We had in the 70s, the recidivism rate went down 25%.
Absolutely.
During this time of this book.
That's right.
Then in comes the right wing, and recidivism rate goes up to the ceiling. All right. The programs that we had at that time, I got a bachelor's degree in Walpole State Prison.
Right.
Today, you're lucky if you can get a GED in Walpole State Prison. All right. And this is what the problem is. It's an up and down roller coaster ride. All right. Prisons don't work. They're wrong in concept. They're wrong in application. They're an abomination. The trick is, how do we get out of prisons? And when you say abolish prisons, people panic, rightly so, because all they think was, oh my God, you're going to put all these killers out into the population.
Right.
Well, no, that's not what we're talking about in the concept of abolishing prisons. Now, like in Massachusetts, right, we have a statute, the duties and responsibilities of the Commissioner of Corrections. In 124, Section 1E says, establish, maintain, and administrate programs of rehabilitation, including but not limited to education, training, and employment of persons committed to the custody of the department as far as practical, to prepare and assist each such person to assume the responsibilities and exercise the rights of citizens of the Commonwealth. It's the duty mandated by statute to the Department of Corrections to rehabilitate prisoners. They don't do that. They do not have. If there was a magic button, that if the Department of Corrections pressed it, it would instantly rehabilitate all prisoners and reduce recidivism to zero. Would they press the button? No, they wouldn't. And the reason they won't press it is they don't have a vested interest in pressing that button. Because if they rehabilitate prisoners, what happens if you're doing your job and you're rehabilitating prisoners, putting them on the streets as productive citizens, you're reducing the number of prisoners in the prison system, which means you're going to need less and less staff, which means at some point you can start closing prisons.
You can start getting
Right
people
now,
out.
over $500 million a year goes to the Department of Corrections. It's the largest budget in the state. We spend more money on corrections than we do on higher education. That's a formula for social disaster. That should be the reverse.
Now, last night you were talking about the breakdown of the money that's spent and the percentage that's administrative versus the amount that's spent on rehabilitation. Can you address that?
About 2% of the budget goes to rehabilitation. 70-something% goes to salary.